Start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. We're giving all praises to the Most High, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in ancient Hebrew is the Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles who taught us this truth by the Holy Spirit. Honor to the brothers with life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the elect, which would be so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to scripture and according to prophecy. But the elect would be 1/3 of the Israelites who will return back to the Most High during the last days, which is happening right now, to receive salvation. But the rest of our people who don't turn back to the Most High be destroyed in judgment. So we back with another live lesson to the mercy of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And Lord willing, we'll finish out the book of Psalms, chapter 66. So this will be Wisdom of David, 66, part 2. Lord willing, we'll finish up this chapter. So continuing where we left off in verse 11. Thou broughtest us into the net. Thou laidest affliction upon our loins. So yeah, what does that net represent? It represents slavery, captivity. Now we're going to show that. We're going to look at this word net. So again, it said, thou broughtest us into the net. And for net, it says to be a prey. It says to be hunted. And who are we hunted by? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Because what? He's a cunning hunter. It says to be captured. So yeah, being in that net represents being captured, captivity, a captive, and slavery. And here in America, we in that net, we still here in the lands of our captivity, still under those who captured us. Thou broughtest us into the net, that slavery, which today would be America, this condition that we living in. It says, thou hast laidest affliction upon our loins. What does that affliction represent? Pretty much the oppression, the hatred we face, the other nations trying to exterminate us off the face of the earth, out of their hatred for the true Israelites. That's that affliction we face today. Pretty much all our pain and suffering. Now I'm going to go here. We're going to come to the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 6, to show why the Lord brought us into that net, allowed us to be captured, as slaves and oppressed even to this day. So when we come to the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 6, straight to the point. It says, you were sold to the nations. Sold as what? Sold as slaves. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath. He delivered you unto the enemy. So the enemy is flesh and blood. Christians got no understanding of that when they say the enemy is not flesh and blood. But we were sold to the nations. We came into America as slaves and oppressed to this day because that's the anger of the Lord. You move the Most High to wrath, so what? He got to punish us. And now, when we come here to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 15. And straight to the point, it say, why criest thou for thine affliction? Our people been crying out, for decades, for centuries. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I had done these things unto thee. So because our iniquity, our sins as a nation were increased, the Lord increased our sorrow and our affliction. So the pain and suffering that we experience today, it matches the level of iniquity and the level of wickedness we got into as a people. But again, it says, why cries out for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable. And so there is no help for the condition of our people here in the earth. The only way out of this affliction, this sorrow, is through Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Now moving on to Psalm 66, verse 12, which I'm going to hit verse 11 again. Thou broughtest us into the net, that slavery captivity, which we still in to this day. Thou laidest affliction upon our loins. So as a nation of people, we've all been through it. It said, thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through the fire, through the water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. Start with that verse part. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. So let's get into that. We're going to come to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49. Because again, it says, thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. So he saw the white man that come up against us, you know, they were sent by the Lord to punish our people. And that's why Deuteronomy 28:49 say this, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee. See that? The Lord brought these nations against us. This is talking about Esau, even the white man. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Who's that eagle represent? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. That's why the national bird is an eagle. That's why it's an eagle on the dollar, on the quarter, all on the military emblems and logos. The Lord brought the eagle against us. As swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. But yeah, the Lord brought the eagle, who is Esau, Edom, the white man, against us. So back to Psalm 66:12, thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. Then even when you look up that word head, it goes into the chief, the leaders of our people. And the Lord also said, Deuteronomy 28, it said, you and your king over you shall go into captivity. So the whole nation of Israel, from the smallest to the greatest, all in captivity to this day. But it goes on to say, we went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. And we going through this water and through this fire right now to be brought into a wealthy place. That's the kingdom of heaven. What the water and the fire represent. Pretty much the pain and suffering. That's the straight and narrow path. This is a straight gate. So read this again, and then we're gonna jump somewhere. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. So again, we're going through the fire and through the water right now. So when we come here to the book of 2nd Ezra, we're going to get chapter 5, verse 7. And it say this. Hold on. Dang, that's not it. Damn, this really not it. Hold on real quick. Let me see. I'm tripping. So again, I'm read this again, Psalm 66:12. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. That's us being captured. We went through fire and through water, which you're going through right now, the pain and suffering. But this also represents that straight and narrow gate. Because although all our people going through the pain and suffering, not everybody's taking that straight and narrow path, which represents following Yahweh Shah. We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. Now we're gonna get this um, in the book of Second Ezra, chapter 7, verse 7. It says the entrance thereof is narrow. That's that straight and narrow gate, that straight and narrow path. That's being brought through the fire and through the water. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small there could but one man go there at once. So yeah, that's a straight and narrow path. Water on the right and water on the left. Did I say that right? Fire on the right and the water on the left, with a small path in between it. So small, only one man can go through at a time. And that's why I say this in verse 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, what's that city? The kingdom of heaven. If he never shall pass through the danger set before it, how shall he receive his inheritance? So yeah, on the other side of this pain and suffering, us being sold to the nations, on the other side of us returning back to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, taking that straight and narrow path, going through the straight gate, this difficult path that's set before us. Unless we go through that, how will we ever get to the kingdom? So on the other side of America, the end of this ministry, the end of all of this is the kingdom. You know, beginning with the elect, who's going to take this straight and narrow path set by Yahweh Shah. So again, if this city now were given into a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass through the danger set before it, how shall he receive his inheritance? So what's the danger that's set before us? Of course, it's this path, but it's America. And this is the last place we got to get through to get to the kingdom. Now, that's why when we come here to the book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 22, it say this: confirm me the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So we're going to enter into the kingdom of heaven through much tribulation. That's that path that's set on a dangerous place. Back to Second Ezra, chapter 7, verse 7. One path between the fire and the water. Back to Psalm 66, verse 12. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us into a wealthy place. So the end of all of this pain and suffering, the end of this ministry, again, that wealthy place is the kingdom of heaven. Listen to some brothers today. We're not just out here without a purpose. We got hope, expectations. It's something we seek. That's the kingdom of heaven. Shalom to daughter Yahweh, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Barakazah. Shalom to everybody else tuning in. So now, yeah, you know, this ministry, those who believe in the truth, listen to the lessons. Those of us who teach, we trying to get somewhere. We don't plan on being here forever. So see, the Christian church, they happy with going to church every Sunday. They happy with praying to the Lord forever. We don't want to pray forever. No, we want the Lord to pop up. Now, it's all praises to the Lord forever, but the fact that you got to pray represents that you separated from the Lord. So again, Christians happy with going to church every Sunday forever, paying offerings forever, praying forever. No, we want to be back with the Lord. So now we're going to get this in the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 29. And it say this: for he that had, hold on. Actually, we're going to get verse 29. For he that hath brought these plagues upon you. What's the plagues that was brought upon us? This affliction, this pain and suffering, us being sold to the nations. For he that brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation. So upon the salvation, meaning we saved from the destruction, we're going to be brought into everlasting joy. What's that? That's the kingdom of heaven that we can only experience through those new bodies. So again, the end of all of these plagues, the end of this captivity is everlasting joy, at least for those that's on that straight and narrow path. Taking the straight gate, hey, through the fire on the right hand and the water on the left. Yeah, the end of all of this is everlasting joy, which is the kingdom of heaven. So even this pain and suffering, that's why the scriptures say the pain and suffering can't compare to the glory to come. Pain and suffering only for a moment, but that's why it's called everlasting joy. The glory, the kingdom of heaven, gonna be forever. So there's really a small price to pay, a small sacrifice for the reward that the Lord got in store for us. This is the book of Psalm 66, 13 through 14. I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. I will pay thee my vows, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. And this describes a lot of our people in the sense they only call on the Lord when they're in trouble. They only seeking the Lord when they're in trouble. How y'all doing? Oh, I'm hanging in there. So I'm gonna read this again.
If you don't mind me asking, I always see you, but I don't never know.
Yeah. That's why I'm out here. So pretty much going into Bible prophecy, you'll probably identify as Black, African American, something like that. Is that what you identify as?
Yeah.
So Black and African American are made up terms. So when the Most High God of the Bible created people, he didn't say, I created these Blacks or these African Americans or Mexicans. So what we would really be, we would be the Lord's chosen people.
What? Mom went into Dollar
So yeah, we would be the Lord's chosen people, the lost 12 tribes of Israel. So this is what the world calls us over here. I think this would be your right. And then this is what the Bible actually calls us over here, I think to the left. So I don't know if you remember Kanye West and Kyrie Irving got in trouble saying we the Jews. You know about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what the world don't know, the word Jew really comes from Judah. So who the world calls Jesus, which he looks more like that, a dark-skinned man, he came from the tribe of Judah. So the real Jews, as they call them today, would be so-called African Americans. You got some Native Americans, Mexicans. This would be these people over here. And we got some pictures showing we was actually those people. Messiah, Mother Mary, David, Moses, even the Holy Angels. So
I actually like it.
yeah, it's tight. The truth is hey, this is what our people been looking for. So pretty much we showing our people that we the people of this book, so we need to return to it because the Bible is our history, but it's also our future.
Right, it is.
Do you know the story about Moses in Egypt when he said, let my people go?
Yes. I was just telling my dad and my brother about that.
So that's still
on the other side.
So that's still the case today. So pretty much the Israelites were in slavery in ancient Egypt. Are they ready to go? Oh, my bad. So pretty much in ancient Egypt, the Israelites were in slavery, captivity, just like we is today in America. America is spiritual Egypt, meaning it's not literal Egypt, but it's like Egypt all over again. Because the Lord's people back today being oppressed, and what proves that this is spiritual Egypt, on the back of the pyramid, on the back of the dollar, there's a pyramid.
Right.
So this is spiritual Egypt. So what the Lord did to ancient Egypt was he destroyed it. What the Lord gonna do to America is destroy this place to free his people.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I had to go.
Hey, next time you see me, pull up. We go get some more. Bet. You're welcome. Shalom. Hey, to the brother Kabag Shana and to the brother Yowanathan Bakar. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to actually go back to the book of Baruch to pair this up with that. The brother posted 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Look like it's verse 9. I'm going to jump there. 1 Corinthians 2 and 9. 1 Corinthians 2 and 9. Where's 1 Corinthians? That's not what it say. I'm tripping. Romans 8 and 18. The brother posted Romans 8 and 18. We're going to get that real quick. It says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. And who would that us be is not all people. Because who was the book of Romans written to? It was written to the Israelites. When you read it with understanding. Because who was suffering during the time that the letters of Paul were being written? It was the Israelites that was suffering under the hand of the Romans. And this, again, back to Baruch 4 and 29, for thee that have brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation. That's the glory that's going to be revealed in the elect at the Lord's return, which will be a remnant of Israel. But back to Psalm 66 and 12, thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou hast brought us into a wealthy place. So what's next? America is our last stop, in these fleshly bodies. It's not going to be another regeneration, another reincarnation. It's not going to be another captivity. It's not going to be another 250, 1,000 years. The next stop is the kingdom of heaven. Now, how you going to get there? You're going to seek and return to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah to be translated into the kingdom of heaven, to be translated into that glory, or do you got to die death by pain, by the sword, famine, or the pestilence, or do you got to die in the lake of fire to receive your inheritance, which is the kingdom of heaven? Verse 19 in the book of Romans chapter 8. Is that where I'm at? Actually, back now, this is 1 Corinthians 2 and 9. 1 Corinthians 2 and 9 from the brother Kabak Shana. But as it is written, I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of men the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. And that begins with the elect. Those are they who love the Lord in this lifetime. But get in the NLT. No eye has seen, nor ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. So all the stuff you've seen in the movies, sci-fi, science fiction, cartoons, the stuff in your dreams. Hey, there's nothing that you can imagine to even begin to comprehend the glory and the joy of the kingdom of heaven. For example, everlasting life. You can't even comprehend that. So yeah, the mind can't even imagine what the kingdom of heaven gonna be like. And that's a small price to pay here in America. Just return back to the Lord for a little bit. Because this is only a little bit compared to forever. Continuing on, this is the book of Psalm 66, 13 through 14. I'm gonna get this again. And this describes the majority of our people. Well, really, there's two sides to what we're about to read. I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. I will pay thee my vows, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. So 2/3 of our people, they're gonna call on the Lord and make all kind of promises to the Lord when it's too late. Lord, if you could get me out of this, I promise to serve you. Lord, if you can get me out of this, I won't ever sin again. Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll do whatever you ask. That's going to be the 2/3 of our people, which even in the Christian world, and we all been there before. If the Lord can get us out of a certain trouble, we'll pretty much be more obedient. But let's get this again. I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. That's happening today. We in the presence of the Lord with burnt offerings. So you being in the house of the Lord with burnt offerings, that represents you returning back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. I will pay thee my vows, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. What's that trouble? That represents us being here in captivity. That's why there's a time known as Jacob's trouble. But we gonna get into some of this. We gonna get Baruch 4:28, but we gonna read this again. I will go into thy house. That's what? That's you returning back to the Lord. That's you seeking the Lord. I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. I will pay thee my vows. So your vow, it's a promise, something that you're supposed to do for the Lord, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. So as we seek and return back to the Lord, what does the Lord require of us? What's that vow that we owe the Lord? This is Baruch 4:28. For as it was your mind to go astray from God, we've all been astray. Meaning what? No knowledge of the truth. For as it was your mind to go astray from God, so being returned. Us being returned, that's us being in the house of the Lord. It says, seek him 10 times more. So yeah, after being exposed to the truth, seek him 10 times more. So back to Psalms 66:13, I will go into thy house. That's us being returned. It says with burnt offerings, and I will pay thee my vows. That's seeking the Lord 10 times more. That's why we do these lessons, and that's why we got an audience. We seeking the Lord 10 times more. And even Isaiah 55:6, they tell you seek the Lord while he may be found. And so it's a sense of urgency that comes with this. We ain't just seeking the Lord when we got free time. We seeking the Lord like our life on the line. Because what the people find out, our life is on the line. We're going to show that. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1. They say this. This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So when you keep the word, in other words, to turn back to the Most High, hey, you will live. Hey, but those who leave this or never return, they're gonna die. And it's not gonna be a quick or a peaceful death. Because people who got the attitude, if I die, I die, they assuming that's gonna be a quick and peaceful death. But the Lord said they shall know after death by pain. So the Lord not gonna let you escape easy. Now this is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 9. Because remember, it was our minds to go astray, but being returned, seek him 10 times more. That's why when we come to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, it say this. For you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So what? What was us being in darkness? That's our minds going astray. But us being in that marvelous light, that's us being returned. Now what we supposed to do? Seek him 10 times more. And what it's saying, 1 Peter 2:9, we should show forth the praises of him who called us out of darkness, who called us in the everlasting light. In other words, we back in the presence of the Lord. Because that light represents his truth, his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we should show him forth praises. In other words, that's us seeking him more. That's the teacher's teaching and the believer's listening. That's giving praise to his name. Back to Psalm 66:13, I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. And who's the burnt offering? Or what's the burnt offering? It would be these bodies. I will go into thy house with burnt offerings that's being returned to the Lord, I will pay thee my vows. That's us giving, offering praises to him, seeking him 10 times more, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. Because what the Lord said, we will return and keep his word here in the land of our captivities. That's where Psalm 66, 13 and 14 will be fulfilled at, here in the lands of our captivities. So back to the book of Baruch, chapter 2, I think we're going to start at verse 30. And it say this: For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. And what did the Lord say? I guess we're about to get there. But he said it was your mind to go astray. That was us being a stiff-necked people. It said, but in the land of their captivity, they shall remember themselves and shall know that I am the Lord, their God, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. So that's us returning. Remembering ourselves, and remembering the Lord. Remembering his names, his commandments, what he requires. But in the land of the captivity, they shall remember themselves, and they shall know that I am Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, their God, for I will give them a heart and ears to hear. They shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. That's happening here. Thinking upon his name and praising him in the land of our captivity. That's what these lessons are for. And those who listen, that's them praising the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah here in the land of our captivities. And that represents us being in trouble. So again, I will go into thy house with burnt offerings. That's us being returned. I will pay thee my vows. Remembering ourselves and offering praises and fearing and calling on the names of the Lord, which my lips have uttered, my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble. So truly being awakened is not just realizing you the Lord's people, but realizing we in trouble. That we guilty of things that we can't even imagine through the various lifetimes. And we still what? We still in danger of judgment. We woke up in America, which is Babylon the Great. So yeah, that's calling on the Lord in your troubles, which we come to that time of trouble, Jacob's trouble. Now, moving on to Psalm 66 and 15, I will offer unto thee burnt sacrifices of fatlings with the incense of rams. I will offer bullocks and goats. And again, because of the sacrifice of Yahweh Shah, which was the ultimate sacrifice, you don't got to offer that stuff no more. Which in one of the Psalms, the Lord said, if I desire goats and rams, the Lord said he'd get it himself. So the Lord doesn't require that. But this is a metaphor for spiritual sacrifices. Which now I'm going to go here. This is the book of 1 Samuel 15 and 22. And it say this: And Samuel said, hath the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So Psalm 66:15 say, I will offer unto thee burnt sacrifices and fatlings. Yeah, David was doing that back then. Israel was doing that back then. But that's not required no more after Yahweh Shai's sacrifice. The burnt offerings, well, now we that burnt offering. Because simply obeying is better than sacrifice. Now we're going to go here to the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So returning back to the Most High, waking up to the truth, working on our salvation with fear and trembling, our reasonable service, meaning the least we can do is offer up our bodies of a living sacrifice. Meaning no more living after the lust of the flesh. No more living by the standard of this world, but to live after the spirit, which means to live after the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, what he requires. So what? Present your bodies as a living sacrifice. It would be your spiritual sacrifices. Obedience, faith, fear, listening, your works. That's all done through faith. So these are the spiritual sacrifices today. Pretty much the things that we offer in the suffering that we go through because of the truth. Those would be those spiritual sacrifices. Because nobody's forcing us, hey, but we do it. That's through faith. And really, it's the Lord that's causing us to do it. It's not even on our own. So moving on to Psalm 66, 16 through 17. Come in here, all ye that fear the Most High, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. So yeah, we're going to deal with that. Come in here, all you that fear the Lord. So this ain't for everybody, but only they that fear the Lord. And really to fear the Lord, so I'm going to do a lesson on it. To fear the Lord is an action. It's not nothing that you say with your lips. It's not a thought that you have. Like, yeah, I fear the Lord. No, to fear the Lord is really an action word. But again, it says, come in here, all ye that fear the Lord. So we're not trying to deal with everybody. We're not trying to deal with all black people, all Mexicans, because most of our people don't fear the Lord. Now, they who fear the Lord, they will be the elect. And that's why when we come here to Sirach 1:14, it says, to fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And it was created with the faithful in the womb. So this is only for people who has a certain mindset, a certain spirit. And those spirits, those who fear the Lord was created faithful in the womb, they would be activated when hearing these words. They'd be moved with fear, just like Noah was. That's why you got moved in fear back to back. Because to fear the Lord, you move a certain way. It's an action. Certain actions take place after receiving a report. So back to Psalm 66:16, come in here, all ye that fear the Lord. Those who really have faith, because they was made that way. It says, and I will declare what ye have done for my soul. So that's what we do. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get this real quick. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 9, verse 13. So we seeking out, members of the elect, those who fear the Lord, and we declare to them, hey, what the Lord have done for us. Hey, and what the Lord is going to do for the elect, going into prophecy. So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 9, verse 13. Have mercy upon me, O Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. Thou that liftest me up from the gates of death, that I may show forth all thy praises in the gates of the daughters of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation. See that? Lord, have mercy on me. Lift me up from the gates of death, that I may show forth all my praises to you among the daughter of Zion. See that? But that's back to Psalm 66:16. Come in here, all ye that fear God, now declare what ye have done for my soul. So what the Lord woke us up, pulled us out of the fire to speak to our people. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get this. This is the book of 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks of you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. So always be ready to give an answer when people ask us, so we can declare what the Lord has done for us. we give them, the reason of our hope. What the truth has done for us. Verse 17, I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. So yeah, and we cry out to the Lord. That's us doing these lessons, calling on those names, praying, the listeners. And it says what? He was extolled with my tongue. Meaning what? We exalting those names. And that's why when we come here to the book of Psalms, I think it's 32 and 5. Why do I keep doing that? Maybe it's 33 and 5. It's not. But we're going to get this. Psalm 34 and 3. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. So who would that be? That would be the elect. Everybody that the Lord is pulling out the fire. Those who will be returning back to him. But again, it says, I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. So, David ain't just speak about himself. In the prophetic sense, it would be all the elect. It says he was extolled with my tongue. Extolled means to exalt. So the elect, here in the lands of our captivity, we exalt the names of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua together. And then moving on to Psalms 66, verses 18 through 19. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. But verily God hath heard me, he hath attended to the voice of my prayer. So yeah, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. So that's why when we come here to the book of John 9 verse 31. So this is why David said, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Now we know that God heareth not sinners. Was sinning, breaking the law. So how can the law be done away with? But if any man be worshiper of the Most High and doeth his will, whom he heareth. And see that? And what do you think David was talking about? If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. He saw what happened to Saul. Saul had iniquity in his heart, and the Lord stopped hearing him. Saul had to call up Samuel. The prophet stopped dealing with Saul. Ultimately, because the Most High stopped dealing with him. Now, somebody you see this and say, well, we all sin. Well, when it says God heareth not sinners, the bigger picture is when you read on. When it says, but if any man be a worshiper of the Most High and doeth his will, him will he hear. So being a sinner, or as David said, if I have iniquity in my heart, that iniquity in your heart, you being a sinner, is you not being a worshiper of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. You not being obedient to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua to do his will. Because again, it says, but if any man be a worshiper of the Most High and doeth his will, him he heareth. Because David sinned. David committed 2 sins worthy of death. But David continued to serve Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. He continued to do the will of the Lord. So what? The Lord continued to deal with David. He continued to hear David. And that represents the house of David being heard in the last days, which will be the remnant, the elect. So back to Psalm 66, 18, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Simply, if you don't be obedient to the word and do his will here in the last day. Which simply put, it would be to seek him. That's why he says, seek him while he may be found. That's why he said, as it was your mind to go astray, returning, seek him 10 times more. That's all the Lord requires. It says, but verily, God hath heard me. The Lord heard David. Hey, when David asked for mercy, the times that the Lord had to chastise David, and the Lord is hearing the house of David today. And the Lord hearing us, meaning pretty much he gonna hear us out in our times of trouble. But verily God hath heard me, he hath attended to the voice of my prayer. Hey, you see, the Lord not gonna hear everybody. That's why when we come here to the book of Psalms 34, verse 15, we're going to get through 17 on it. To say this: the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous. What's that righteousness? It don't mean keeping the law perfectly, but how that scripture go? Serving Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai in spirit and in truth, with a sincere heart, and doing his will. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, his ears are open to their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. And we know Saul was cut off. The house of Saul was cut off. And they're going to be cut off again in this lifetime. But bigger picture, Esau, Edom, the white man. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. So the righteous crying out to be delivered from their troubles. They're not crying out for riches. They're not crying out for women. They're not crying out for fame and money. Or the house of David going to be crying out to be delivered from those troubles. And because that's in the Lord's will. He already spoke it. I'm going to deliver certain people from their troubles. He didn't promise to make the righteous rich in America. That'll come in the kingdom of heaven. Now when we go back to Psalm 66, I'm 18 through 19 again. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord would not hear me. But verily, God hath heard me. He hath attended to the voice of my prayer. So in order for the Lord to hear you, you first got to listen to him. Because the Lord going to return the energy. However you deal with the Lord, he's going to deal with you back in the same manner. See, Saul stopped hearing the Lord. The Lord gave strict orders, and Saul started doing his own thing. He started listening to other people. So when Saul wanted to seek the Lord and speak to him, the Lord wouldn't listen. So the Lord hearing the voice of our prayer, that implies that these people, they first listen to the Lord so that the Lord would listen to them. Now that's in the scriptures right here. When we come to the book of Micah, chapter 3. Micah chapter 3. And it looked like we're going to start at, no, that ain't right. Hold on. Micah chapter 3, verse 7, I guess. That's not what I'm looking for neither. Hold on. Dang. Oh, Malachi 3 and 7. Okay, I'm tripping. We're going to get this. It says, even from the days of your fathers, you are going away from our ordinances. And that's pretty much been the theme of the last half, chapter 66. The Lord constantly reminding us how we went astray, how we forsook him. It's all about returning at this point. And you return to him mentally, which plays out into certain actions that you make in the flesh. Certain decisions got to be made. Even from the days of your fathers, you are going away from our ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me. In other words, listen. Hear what the Lord is saying. Return unto me, and I will return unto you. In other words, the Lord said, if you hear me, then I hear you. Going back to Psalm 66, 18 through 19. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. So you regarding iniquity in your heart, that implies that you're not hearing the Lord in the first place. That's why it says, if you regard iniquity in your heart, the Lord not going to hear. But verily, God hath heard me. The Lord heard David, house of David going to be heard today. The elect is going to be heard today. Verily, God hath heard me. He hath attended to the voice of my prayer. So the Lord hearing the elect implies that the elect has already returned and been listening to what the Lord is saying. How do you listen to what the Lord is saying? By listening to the men whom the Lord has sent to speak his word. Return unto me, and I return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? But yeah, in these last days, we returning back to the Lord. Now we got ears to hear. So moving on to Psalm 66, verse 20, a blessed be Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, which have not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. So yeah, back then, the Lord had mercy on David. Why? Because David was merciful. David served the Lord in spirit and in truth. David obeyed the will of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Well, that mercy not being turned away, the Lord had mercy on David back then, but he's going to have mercy on David again here in the land of our captivities. And the whole house of David going to come into that mercy. Now, as we continue again, it says, blessed be God, which have not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. How you doing? So the house of David going to receive that mercy here at the end. And that's why we get this, Micah chapter 7, we're going to get 18 through 20. Who is a God like unto thee? But that's why Psalm 66 and 20 said, blessed be God. Blessed be Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Who is a God like unto thee that pardoneth iniquity and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? Because the elect, they're going to be pardoned. He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. And that mercy represents Yahweh Shah. He will return again. He will have compassion upon us. He will subdue our iniquities, and thou will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. That's only for the elect. The elect going to be cleared of all the charges against them. Why? Because they made their bodies a living sacrifice, turning back to the Lord. So it would be they who will be covered by the blood of Yahweh Shah. Lord willing, we are part of that. It says, thou will perform the truth to Jacob and mercy to Abraham. And then we know Psalms 85 and 10, it say mercy and truth are met together. So the Lord had mercy on us by bringing us into this truth. Why? So we can come back into righteousness. Why? So the Lord can meet us with peace. And not wrath and anger. That will perform the truth to Jacob. So this great awakening that people speak about, the great awakening or the truth, what happened with Jacob was to be the lost 12 tribes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. The light, that awakening, that would take place amongst the house of Israel. And then the other nations, they will come into our light. They will receive, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, this truth, which is for Jacob. Thou will perform the truth to Jacob and the mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old. So yeah, here at the end, we're going to come into that mercy that the Lord promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why David said, blessed be God, which have not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. So, we back in the days, the Lord is showing favor and having mercy on his people. Because why? We in that time of judgment. Hey, Shalom. Let me see. We're going to get this from the brother Kabak Sanah. Hey, this is the book of Ecclesiastes 5 and 4 through 5. Ecclesiastes 5 and 4 through verse 5. When thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. And people don't know, just acknowledging that you are Israelite, you acknowledging that you the people of the covenant. You acknowledging that you the descendants of the people that the Lord made a covenant with. Acknowledging you were Israelite, acknowledging you the chosen people, Now you got the responsibility of keeping the commandments. Now you got the responsibility of keeping what's written in the book, keeping what the Lord requires of us here in the end days. And what most of our people do, find out they're Israelite and it stopped there. They think the battle was won, they think the struggle is over. No, that's just the beginning. And that's why most of our people gonna die. Because they acknowledge they're the people of the covenant, but they kept none of the covenant and acknowledging their heritage. Verse 5. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow than that thou shouldest vow and not pay. And that's why 2/3 of our people, they got to pay with their life. Because they made a vow, they acknowledge they're the people of the covenant. Now they're supposed to return and keeping the covenant, seeking the Lord, walking in his ways here at the end. They failed to do that, and now the Lord got to now the blood of Yahweh Shah, they're not covered by that blood. So now the Lord is going to require their blood. And a lot of our people, they tasted of the heavenly gift. They was part of the truth, but they left. But what it say? Better is it that thou shouldest not vow. So it's really better if you never came into the truth at all. Roughly paraphrase, the scriptures say that they're going to be beaten with many stripes. Yeah, they're going to be beaten with many stripes. Scriptures also say, ain't no man who put his hand to the plow, then turn back, is fit for the kingdom of heaven. Now we're going to get this from the brother Kabak Shana, 2nd Maccabees 7:32 through 33. So, that's the beautiful thing about offering your bodies as a living sacrifice now. We paying for it now. Partaking in the sufferings of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. Forsaking the pleasures of this world to suffer on the behalf of Yahweh Shah. So we ain't got to pay with our blood when the Lord brings that judgment. But the people who chose the riches and the pleasures of this world, they're going to have to pay at the end. This is the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 7, verse 32 through 33. Is that where we at?
Unfortunately, a credit card, right? Yeah.
Okay, it say this. For we suffer because of our sins. Hey, plain and simple. That's why you're in America. That's why you're oppressed. We suffer because of our sins. And though the living Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, be angry with us a little while for our chastening and correction, yet shall he be at one again with his servants. So that's back to Baruch 4:29. He that brought these plagues upon you, upon your salvation, shall bring you everlasting joy. So the suffering, this chastening, this correction that we face is to be at one again with him. And that's why Deuteronomy 30:7, I might go there real quick. Actually 30:1. This is going to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have said before thee, thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh thy God have driven thee. So the suffering, these curses, was meant to link us up back with the Heavenly Father. Now we read the curses, we be like, damn, we fit these as a people. We must be the people. Then the Spirit will start working on our minds and making it click and realize, damn, we need to return back. Return back to what's written, what the Lord requires. So, because the curses, that's our correction and our chastening to make us be at one again with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. So the end of all of these curses, this pain and suffering, is being at one with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. And that's first going to be with the elect. Shalom. Hey, to my brother Kalab, to my brother Enos, to my brother Yahweh, and to my brother Sagala. Hey, I think everybody that's tuning in and will tune in, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Rakatah. Man, so again, I'm gonna get this Baruch 4:9 that we're gonna close out. Baruch 4:29, then we're gonna close out. For he had brought these plagues upon you, for he that hath brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation. So yeah. And we got something to look forward to suffering with the Lord. Hey, but our people who choose the world, hey, they got nothing to look forward to but death by pain. And we see what's going on with the ICE raids, the deportations, the riots and the protests. This about to be it. They're targeting the Northern Kingdom right now, but they got the laws and legislation, the military force, the military equipment. They got that in place. They're gonna start coming after what they call African American communities. Hey, so we next. And, that's gonna be the time known as Jacob's trouble. But it said what? He shall be saved out of it. That represents the elect. Hey, so I thank everybody that tuned in and will tune in. Let's give our praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Hey, till next time, Lord willing, Shalom.